أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين. قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه كذلك نجزي الظالمين. فبدأ بأوعيتهم قبل وعاء أخيه ثم استخرجها من وعاء أخيه كذلك كدنا ليوسف ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك إلا أن يشاء الله نرفع درجات من نشاء وفوق كل ذي علم عليم. قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل فأسرها يوسف في نفسه ولم يبدها لهم قال أنتم شر مكانا والله أعلم بما تصفون. قالوا يا أيها العزيز إن له أبا شيخا كبيرا فخذ أحدنا مكانه إنا نراك من المحسنين. قال معاذ الله أن نأخذ إلا من وجدنا متاعنا عنده إنا إذا لظالمون. فلما استيأسوا منه خلصوا نجيا قال كبيرهم ألم تعلموا أن أباكم قد أخذ عليكم موثقا من الله ومن قبل ما فرطتم في يوسف ولن أبرح الأرض حتى يأذن لي أبي أو يحكم الله لي وهو خير الحاكمين. ارجعوا إلى أبيكم فقولوا يا أبانا إن ابنك سرق وما شهدنا إلا بما علمنا وما كنا للغيب حافظين. واسأل القرية التي كنا فيها والعير التي أقبلنا فيها وإنا لصادقون. قال بل سولت لكم أنفسكم أمرا فصبر جميل عسى الله أن يأتيني بهم جميعا إنه هو العليم الحكيم. صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. حضرت حق جل وعلا شانه وعز اسمه وتم برهانه says, قالوا, they said, yani means brothers of Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, said, فَمَا جَزَاؤُهُ إِن كُنتُمْ كَاذِبِينَ. Now, this quotation was made by the royal servants. The royal servants said on behalf of Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, فَمَا جَزَاؤُهُ. So, what would be the punishment of the thief? إِن كُنتُمْ كَاذِبِينَ, if you are telling a lie. قالوا, they said, in brothers of Joseph said, جزاؤه, the punishment of that thief, man wujida fi rahlihi, your property would be found in whose sacks, in whose bags, in whose packs. فَهُوَ جَزَاؤُهُ, he himself would be the punishment of himself. Means he can be made a bondsman, he can be enslaved. كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الظَّالِمِينَ, this is how we punish the thieves in our country. فَبَدَأَ بِأَوْئِيَتِهِمْ قَبْلَ وِعَاءِ أَخِيهِ. So Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, began to search through the packs of them. قَبْلَ وِعَاءِ أَخِيهِ, before the pack of his own brother. ثُمَّ اسْتَخْرَجَهَا, then he found it out, he searched it out. مِنْ وِعَاءِ أَخِيهِ, from or of the packs of his own brother. كَذَلِكَ كِدْنَا لِيُوسُفَ, this is how we educated Joseph how to plot the plans. مَا كَانَ لِيَأْخُذَ أَخَاهُ فِي دِينِ الْمَلِكِ, he was not competent to detain or to arrest or to deter his brother according to the law of the king of the country. Means according to the prevailing law, he was not competent, he was not in a position to arrest his brother or to detain his brother. إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ, but that Allah likes it. نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَّن نَشَاءُ, we can elevate the status and the dignities of that person whom we like. وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ, and there is a greater scholar than every scholar. There is a greater knowledgeable person than every knowledgeable person. قالوا, they said, in yasriq, if he has committed the crime of theft, it is not a new thing for him, because an other example was established, an other president was established by his brother. فَقَدْ سَرَقَ أَخُلُّهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ, before this his elder brother has already committed the crime of theft. فَأَسَرَّهَا يُوسُفَ فِي نَفْسِهِ, so the Prophet Joseph suppressed his feeling in his heart. وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُمْ, and he did not reveal them to them. Means he did not reveal, he did not disclose his feelings to them. قَالَ أَنْتُمْ شَرٌّ مَكَانًا, he exclaimed with sorrow, what a bad people you are. وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمَ مَا تَصِفُونَ, Allah knows better about what you state, about what you say. Means your statement is completely fabricated, which has got no reality, because he himself was Joseph. He was in position to know the proper fact. قالوا Ya ayyuhal azizo, they said, O exalted sir, is O vicegerent of the country. Inna lahu aban shaykhan kabiran, he has got an aged father. His father is too old person. فَخُذْ أَحَدَنَا مَكَانَهُ, so arrest any one of us instead of him. Inna naraka minal muhsinin, we have been experiencing you to be very kind person to us. قال معاذ الله, he said, God forbid. أن نأخذ إلا من وجدنا متاعنا عنده, that we should arrest, God forbid, that we should arrest illa man, except that one in whose packs or in whose saddle bags or in whose luggage we found our property. Inna izal lazalimun, if we do so according to your suggestion, we will be included into the transgressors. فَلَمَّا اسْتَيْأَسُوا مِنْهُ, so when they were disappointed of him, خَلَصُوا نَجِيًّا, they went to a corner and conferred together. قَالَ كَبِيرُهُمْ, and the eldest of them said to them, أَلَمْ تَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ أَبَاكُمْ قَدْ أَخَذَ عَلَيْكُمْ مَوْثِقًا مِّنَ اللَّهِ, didn't you know that your father has taken from you a pledge in the name of Allah? وَمِن قَبْلُ مَا فَرَّطْتُمْ فِي يُوسُفَ, and you know what you did in connection with Joseph. فَلَنْ أَبْرَخَ الْأَرْضَ, so I shall never leave the land. حَتَّى يَأْذَنَ لِي أَبِي, until my father permits me. أَوْ يَحْكُمَ اللَّهُ لِي, or Allah Rabbul Izzat decides in my favor. وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْحَاكِمِينَ, and he is the best judge you have experienced in your life. إِرْجِعُوا إِلَىٰ أَبِيكُمْ, go back to your father. فَقُولُوا, and say to him, Ya Abana, O our dear father, in nabnaka sarak, verily your son has committed the crime of theft. وَمَا شَهِدْنَا إِلَّا بِمَا عَلِمْنَا, and we did not give the evidence but as much as we know. وَمَا كُنَّا لِلْغَيْبِ حَافِظِينَ, and we were not observing the unseen secret. وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةَ الَّتِي كُنَّا فِيهَا, and you can ask, you can inquire from the people of the city we were in. الْقَرْيَةَ الَّتِي كُنَّا فِيهَا, you can inquire from the people of the city we were in. وَالْعِيرَ الَّتِي أَقْبَلْنَا فِيهَا, and you can inquire from the cameleers in which we have been coming back. وَإِنَّا لَصَادِقُونَ, and verily we are truthful persons. We are speaking the truth. قال, the father of Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah on both of them. قال, he said, بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا, but Satan, or your souls, have decorated, have ornamented, have beautified a new heinous matter in front of you. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ, I had better to exercise the patience. عَسَى اللَّهُ أَنْ يَأْتِيَنِي, Allah is more likely to bring them together to me. إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْعَلِيمُ الْحَكِيمُ, verily he is of knowing and of wise. This is the verbal translation of the passage I recited before you. Here, this passage is directly connected with the story, with the previous passage. In the previous passage, it was mentioned that the brothers of Joseph, being offspring of a prophet, clarified their position, that they did not come there to spread the diffusion, to spread the disunity, disturbance in the land. They were very peace-loving and law-abiding people, because they were patronized under the patronage of the prophet. Therefore, they were very, very characterful person according to their own statement, and they had showed their honesty, integrity, and good character while coming back, because they muzzled their camels and they returned the property which was left in their saddle bags, just to show that it was not legitimate property for them. Therefore, they returned it to the king. When their lost property was restored to the real owner, it was enough proof that they were honest persons. Therefore, they were in the right to assure them that those persons was not bad character, and they were not rebels or mutineers, or they did not want to cause any type of confusion or disturbance in the land. Because these two things were established by them, that they were very honest to muzzle their camels, just to avoid their attacking on the heaps of the corn or grains, or in the buckets of the vegetables or the fruits. And the leftover property was also restored by them to the real and legitimate owner. So these were two enough proof to substantiate their honesty, integrity, and solemnity. قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم صادقين. Supposing you are speaking truth, you are in the right, but otherwise, if you are found to be guilty, what is the punishment of that person who is found to be guilty? They said, قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه. The punishment of that person who has committed the crime of theft, he himself should be enslaved. He should be made bondsman, because this was a legislation of their father. According to the divine law, the person committing the theft was liable to be punished with the slavery. He should have been enslaved. So this was a justification which was going to be obtained by Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him. Because Quran says, according to the prevalent law of the country, he was not in position to arrest his brother or to detain his brother. And really he was factually, in fact, he wanted to stay, to detain and to deter his brother from the going, and there was no excuse, reasonable excuse to detain him. So for his detention, a reasonable excuse based on the honesty should have been achieved by him. Therefore, he wanted them to give their opinion and give their quotations about the person who is found to be guilty of commission of the theft. They said, according to their law, the punishment of that person who commits a crime of theft should be enslaved. So this was enough excuse for him to arrest his brother, because intentionally he himself or somebody else on behalf of him had put the cup of measuring the grains, was put in the luggage, in the sacks of his brother, and he was liable to be arrested. But this arrestment was not legitimate or lawful according to the prevailing law of the country. Therefore, he wanted them to observe their own law. Quran says, when they said that the person who is found to be guilty of the crime of theft should be arrested and should be enslaved. So afterwards, after this decision, فَبَدَأَ بِأَوْئِيَتِهِمْ قَبْلَ بِآيَخِيهِ, he began to search through the baggages, through the sacks, through the packs, through the saddle bags of them, قَبْلَ بِآيَخِيهِ, before the packs of his own brother, because he already knew, or his servants, his representative, were not in knowledge, but Joseph himself was in position, in the knowledge of that thing, that the cup was put in the bag of his brother. Therefore, it was nothing to be worried about. He was totally contented and satisfied that the thing would be found in the luggage of his own brother, and he would be arrested, and that is the end of my purpose. ثُمَّ اسْتَخْرَجَهَا مِنْ وِعَاءِ أَخِيهِ, then he found it out. Then he searched it out from the packs and saddle bags of his own brother, and according to their stated law, according to their own explained law, he was liable to be arrested. Quran says, كَذَلِكَ كِدْنَا لِيُوسُفَ, this is how we taught Joseph how to plot the plan. Means it was a legitimate plan plotted by Joseph according to the instructions of Allah Rabbul Izzat. This wisdom and this intelligence was granted by Allah Rabbul Izzat on Joseph. May grace and peace of Allah be upon him. Quran says, Ma kana liyakhudha akhahu fi din al-malike, since he was not in position to arrest his brother or to detain his brother according to the prevailing law of the country, but that Allah likes it. Means it was an exception made by Allah Rabbul Izzat, that though he was not liable to be arrested according to the prevailing law, but when Allah wanted him to be arrested, Allah Rabbul Izzat paved a way through the difficulties, and Allah Rabbul Izzat taught him how to plot the plan. وَنَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَّن نَشَاءُ. So accordingly, when the stolen property was found with the brother of Joseph, Benjamin, he was arrested and he was taken away, and he was communicated to the detention center according to the sense of his own brother. But internally they had got a mutual understanding that he was going to be put in the palace of the king along with his brother, because he had identified himself to his brother. He had already told him that he was his brother. He was Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him. And after a long separation and years they had been away from each other. Therefore this meeting was very amusing, very pleasant, and very happy for them. Quran says, نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَّن نَشَاءُ, we can elevate the dignities of a person whom we like. Means not only we enabled Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, to meet his brothers, his family with a successful way, but we elevated him to the throne and crown of the Egypt. Means he was in position to arrest his brother and to enjoy the meeting of his brother, and he was in position to dominate his brother. Now they are coming and going back just like the subject of the state, and he was the ruler and the sovereign of the country. وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. So this is a character of knowledge, and this is a distribution of Allah Rabbul Izzat, that he can distribute his bounties according to his own knowledge. There is a greater scholar than every scholar. One should not presume that one is a comprehensive or a competent scholar. He should expect that there may be thousands and thousands other scholars who are greater than him. قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل. So when he was arrested, according to their own statement, and he was going to be enslaved according to their impressions, they expressed their views. They said, in Yasrik, if he has committed the crime of theft, it is not a new precedent established by himself, but his elder brother has also committed a crime of theft before this time. So it was just an accusation against Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him. And they were telling in face of Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, and he was standing in front of them, unknowing that he was Joseph. Qala, Quran says, فَأَسَرَّهَا يُوسُفُ فِي نَفْسِهِ. Then Joseph, having known the fact, which was totally bogus and baseless and just a fabricated matter, Joseph suppressed his feelings. He was in a position to expose himself, to reveal himself in front of them, that he himself was Joseph. And where is the precedent which was established by me about the commission of the crime of the theft? I'm not a thief. You know me, that you cast me, you put me in the well, and I was taken out by a caravan, and I was sold in the market, and I was elevated to the throne of Egypt. Now I am a king of the country, but you are blaming me for commission of crime of theft. So it is totally wrong. But he suppressed his feelings. He did not want to shame them. وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُمْ. And he did not express his feelings. He did not reveal his feelings to them, just to avoid their shame. قَالَ أَنْتُمْ شَرٌّ مَكَانٍ. Then he cried out with sorrow, what a bad people you are. شَرٌّ مَكَانٍ. أَنْتُمْ شَرٌّ مَكَانٍ. What a bad people you are. In spite of the fact that Joseph was completely infallible, immune, chaste, and sanctified person, and he was patronized in the lap of love and affection of the Prophet, yet they were charging him with the commission of the crime of theft. What a bad deceit, what a bad fabrication. Wallahu a'lamu ma tasifun. Allah knows better about what you say. Means the real fact was known to Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, but he did not want to make them ashamed. This is the moral quality of the prophets. One should follow the example of the prophets. Prophet being a brother of his brothers, and he was completely knowing the facts, but he did not want to make them ashamed. قالوا يا أيها العزيز إن له أبا شيخا كبيرا. They wanted to submit the excuses for the acquittal of their brother, because they had brought the pledge in the name of Allah to their father. They were really very embarrassed of themselves. Therefore, they submitted an excuse that his father was very aged person, he was too old, and he could not do without him. فَخُذْ أَخَذَنَا مَكَانَهُ. Would you please arrest any one of us instead of him, just to release him? They wanted him to be released by Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, and internal position was not known to them. Therefore they suggested another person to be arrested instead of Benjamin. Inna naraka min al-muhsinin. This was the suitable quality for his acquittal. They said, we have been experienced you. We have been experienced you. we have found you to be very nice person, to be very generous, to be very benevolent, beneficent. Therefore, we expect you to acquit, to release Benjamin, and you are in position to arrest any one of us instead of him. But the replassive procedure is not legitimatized by the law. Therefore, Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, said, Ma'azallah, God forbid. Anna khuza illa man wajadna mata'ana indahu. God forbid that we should arrest a person except that person in whose luggage our property was found. Means only the person in whose property, in whose luggage, in whose sacks or packs our property was found is liable to be arrested. No one else should be arrested, and we cannot legitimatize the arrestment of any other person instead of the criminal person. Only the criminal person should be penalized. No one else should be placed in his stead. Inna izalla zalimun. If we replace any person with him, so it would be a great cruelty on our part. It is a tyrannization, it is a cruelty, it is persecution. It is not a decision which can be legitimatized. And being a prophet of Allah and being a justified king of the country, I don't it to be suitable for me to arrest another person who is a totally innocent person. فَلَمَّا اسْتَيْأَسُوا مِنْهُ. So when this conversation had a deadlock, they could not reconcile themselves on the point of acquittal of Benjamin. They had to surrender and they had to yield to the decision of Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him. When they succumbed before Joseph, khalasu najiyan, they went to a corner to confer with each other. So they conferred together. They consulted every one of them. Qala kabiruhum, and the eldest person of the brothers said, Alam ta'alamu anna abakum kada akhadha alaykum wasiqam min Allah. Don't you know that your father has taken a pledge of Allah, a pledge in the name of Allah? He has taken from you a pledge in the name of Allah. You have sworn in front of our father, and you are duty bound to comply with the conditions prescribed by your father. And being a Muslim, you are duty bound to keep your promise. And in addition to that, you have committed a highly culpable action in connection with Joseph. Joseph was totally immune person, infallible person, innocent person, and you committed a practice just like a murder. You put him in the well, but fortunately he was saved by Allah Rabbul Izzat, and he could not die. But you are believed to have committed the crime of murder. This is the difference of our Sharia, that the person who tries to commit the crime is not like that of like a person who has committed the crime. Commission of crime and try to commit the crime, these two types of actions are differently treated in Islam. But in the previous Sharia, all of the Sharia are of the opinion that the person trying to commit the crime and the person who has committed the crime would be dealt with alike on the judgment day according to the previous Sharia. So their brother made them realize that they had committed a crime about Joseph as well. Falan abrakhal arda. So therefore it is not appropriate on my part to leave the place. I am not in a position to confront my father. I cannot present myself in front of my father unless my father permits me personally or Allah Rabbul Izzat decides our case. Because I believe myself to be responsible to my Allah as well and to my father as well, because when we repeated the same action which was done by us in connection with Joseph, so it was not possible for our father to practice, but yet when we compelled him to do so, he conceded to our suggestion. So therefore, I think it would be appropriate on my part not to leave the place until the decision of my father, until the permission of my father, or the divine decision of my Allah in favor of me. وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْحَاكِمِينَ, and he is the best judge you have ever seen. Means no one can decide like Allah Rabbul Izzat, because everybody can be misled, and the evidences can be tampered with. When the evidences can be tampered with, the judge can be misled, but Allah cannot. Allah cannot be misled because He knows all the things, and He can know the tampering with the evidence as well. Therefore, I shall wait for the decision of Allah Rabbul Izzat. Eventually, or at least he was son of a prophet. Therefore, he could not dare to violate the express provision of the law. Irji'u ila abikum faqulu ya abana. So I shall request you to go back to your father and say politely to your father, Ya abana, oh dear father, in nabnaka sarak, your son has committed the crime of theft. Look here, when the name of a son is being attributed to the father, when he has committed the crime of theft, they don't like to ascribe the name of father to themselves. They don't say, oh, our father, or our brother. They isolate the name of Benjamin and they attribute it directly to their father. In Nabnaka, your son. They don't say our brother. In Nabnaka, verily your son, Sarak, has committed the crime of theft. Wama Shahidna, since they had given the pledge in the name of Allah, therefore it was their duty to be responsible for his safety. So when he committed the crime, they were questionable that he should not have committed the crime, because he was under your safety, under your responsibility. It was your duty to save him. It was your duty to protect him from commission of crime. So when he committed the crime, it means that you would be believed to have committed the crime, because it was your responsibility to save him. Since you did not save him, you did not protect him, therefore according to us, you would be incriminated. They say, وَمَا شَهِدْنَا إِلَّا بِمَا عَلِمْنَا. Oh, our father, we did not give the evidence, but as much as we know. Means, if we had seen him committing the crime, we would have saved him. But it was done, it was committed in our absence, and we are not in a position to look after him in our absence, because it was unseen secret, and unseen secret was not known by us. So this is our excuse. وَمَا كُنَّا لِلْغَيْبِ حَافِظِينَ. If we had been in the knowledge of unseen secret, if we had been clairvoyant means having the knowledge of unseen secret, he is called clairvoyant. If we had been clairvoyant, we would have saved him committing the crime. وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةَ الَّتِي. In spite of the fact, it would be possible for our father to suspect us, to be suspicious about us. So accordingly, they went to the country and they met their father, and when they began to talk to their father, they said, our father, such and such mishappening were seen by us, and we are helpless. We could not do anything because such proceedings were practiced, were executed in our absence, and absence was unseen secret for us, and we are not clairvoyant, we were not prophet who knows the unseen secret, and no revelation was made to was going to be made to us. Therefore, we were not in position to save him in our absence. So when they had a conversation with their father, and their father could not be convinced by them, therefore they say, وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةَ الَّتِي كُنَّا فِيهَا, Oh, our father, we can inquire from the people of the city we have been in. Means you can go there, you can send somebody else to Egypt to make the investigation into the matter of Benjamin. Benjamin is alive, and you can talk directly to him that we are totally innocent about his responsibility. We have been looking after him through thick and thin, and we were fully vigilant about him. There was no mistake in our vigilance. We have been vigilant and properly looking after him. But unfortunately, in our absence, he committed something which was not known to us. So just to ascertain the fact, you can go there, or you can send some representative of yours to investigate into the matter. You inquire to inquire into the case. Or وَالْعِيرَ الَّتِي أَقْبَلْنَا فِيهَا, and you can ask, you can inquire of the people in the cameleers, the caravan who went with us to get the ration, to get the grains, to get the food, to get the corns, and they were also residents of that tribal area. Those persons can also be contacted in this connection, and you can ask them, you can call them in, and you can call upon them. They can be invited here, and you can go there, and all of the matter can be investigated in. وَإِنَّا لَصَادِقُونَ, Oh my father, we are really truthful person. We are speaking the truth. There is no even a tinge of lie. There is no even an iota of lie. Then he listened their conversation, their excuses, their pleas, and all of the things they made for their defense. When he came to know all about them, he said, Bal. This Bal is called Bal Israbiya Arfe Atfa, diversive conjunction. Means the situation is not the same as you told me, but the situation is quite diversive. Means you are not aware of the fact. Here the knowledge of the Prophet can be checked. According to the Quranic statement, one comes to the conclusion that the Prophet knows unseen secret by the grace of Allah, by the gift of Allah. The unseen secrets are revealed to Allah through the revelation. Here he said, Bal. This is not fact. Bal means the statements you made is not fact. Bal sawwalat lakum anfusukum amaran. But your souls, your Satans have decorated, ornamented, beautified a new heinous and detestable matter to you. A very detestable, contemptible matter was beautified, ornamented, and decorated to you. Means you were mischieved, you were deceived, you are defrauded. This is not fact. I know the fact. The fact is otherwise. فَصَبْرٌ jameel. But what can I do except the exercise of patience, fortitude? Patience is better for me because I have already experienced the fact. But here discloses, the Prophet discloses all of the facts. He says, Asallahu an yatiyani bihim jami'an. God, Allah is more likely to bring them all together to me. Means I am expecting. You think that Benjamin was also lost. No. Even Joseph was not lost. He is also alive. And Imam Fakhruddin Razi Rahmatullah alayh writes in his book Tafsir Kabir, which is in 32 volumes, he writes that Jacob, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, was fully aware that the king of Egypt was Joseph. So the question can be raised, why didn't Jacob, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, disclose this fact to his society? But on the contrary, we can think the same thing about Joseph. If supposing Jacob ﷺ was not aware of the fact, but Joseph was aware of the fact that he was alive, he was king, he was a prophet, and he was Joseph, and his father was residing in Canaan, he could have told the father, he could have expressed the things, he could have disclosed himself, but why didn't he disclose? It means that certain expedience and policy matters were lying behind the fact, behind the picture. The motive behind, interior motives were different from the apparent ones. Means Joseph was also aware, Jacob was also aware, and these are the signs, the indicatives showing the fact. He says when he was disappointed by the new report submitted by his son that his Benjamin was also lost, he was arrested, he was detained, and he was incriminated, and he was charged with the crime of theft, and he was arrested on that very charge. So this time was a complete disappointment for Jacob, but instead he was not disappointed. He said, Asallahu an yatiyani bihim jami'an. Allah is more likely to bring them all. According to their statement, Joseph, the grace and peace of Allah be upon him, had been reported by his son to have died, to have been eaten, to have been torn by the wolf. So according to their statement, according to their assurance, he should have been convinced that Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, was swallowed by the wolf. But he was not believing so, but he was refusing their claims, and he was defying their evidences. And he was saying, Alamu minallahi ma la ta'lamun. Inni alamu minallahi ma la ta'lamun. I know on behalf of my Allah which is what is not known to you. I know on behalf of Allah what is not known to you. Means being a prophet, I have got an unseen secret from my Lord. He has already told me about the total situation, but I am not in position to disclose it here. When they submitted the report about Benjamin, that he was also arrested and detained in the jail, and he was going to penalize according to the prevailing law of the country, that he was going to be enslaved, he was going to be made bondsman. But Jacob, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, was not convinced with their statement, but he said, I expect my Lord to bring them all together. Means Benjamin would be accompanied by Joseph, and both of them will come to me. Innahu huwal alimul hakim. He knows everything, and his every action is based on the policy matter. He is with good policy. So this is the end of this subject, that all of the things are going to be culminated by Allah Rabbul Izzat. And this is a matter of time. The time is coming when all of them will come together to me, and I shall be overjoyed. This is the end of my lecture of today on this very topic. And in the last, I shall pray for all of the Muslims. Muslims may unite under the flag of Muhammad Mustafa alayhi salatu, and they may unite themselves, and they may assemble themselves with the title of Love and Affection of the Prophet. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ وَآخِرُ دَعْوَانَا أَنِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ وَالصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى رَسُولِهِ الْكَرِيمِ وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ.